All right, folks, imagine this. You're digging through some spare change, looking for a quarter to feed the parking meter, and BM, you find a penny. Not just any penny, though. This little copper beauty is worth a life-changing $1.8 million. That's right, a single 1993 D. Lincoln penny could be your golden ticket. Well, buckle up, because today, we're diving deep into this rare coin, why it's worth a fortune, and how you might just have one sitting in a jar on your kitchen counter. Oh, and trust me, I've been there before, searching through old coins, hoping to strike it rich. One time, I thought I found a super rare penny, only to realize it was just a really dirty nickel. My excitement was through the roof for about 5 minutes. But hey, that's the thrill of coin collecting, right? Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your spare change and maybe, just maybe, walk away a millionaire. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The 1993 D. Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, which is what the little D mint mark under the date stands for. Normally, these pennies are just your everyday, run-of-the-mill 1-cent coins. But a rare mistake at the mint turned a few of them into hidden treasures. This valuable penny is believed to be a transitional error coin. That means it was struck on the wrong kind of metal, most likely an older, leftover blank from a different year. Instead of the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used for 1993 pennies, these rare coins were mistakenly struck on pure copper planchets, the same kind used for pre-1982 pennies. And let me tell you, mistakes at the mint can be big money for collectors. Now, before you start flipping over every penny you own, let me walk you through how to tell if you've got the jackpot coin. A regular 1993 D penny weighs 2.5 grams because it's made of zinc with a thin copper coating. But the rare error coin? It weighs 3.1 grams because it's made of solid copper. You'll need a precision scale to check this. Over time, zinc pennies tend to turn a dull, brownish color, but a solid copper penny ages differently. It develops a deep, reddish patina. If your 1993 D penny looks unusually rich in color, it might be worth a second look. This is an old-school trick, but it works. Drop a regular zinc penny on a hard surface. It makes a dull thud. Now, drop a solid copper penny. It rings with a higher-pitched, more metallic sound. If your penny passes these tests, don't rush to the bank just yet. You need to get it graded and authenticated by a professional coin service like PCGS or NGC. That's how collectors know they're getting the real deal. So, where does this mind-blowing price tag come from? In 2023, a private collector reportedly paid $1.8 million for a near-perfect specimen of the 1993 D copper penny. Why so much? Because it's one of the rarest transitional error coins in modern history. The demand for high-quality, one-of-a-kind coins is insane. And when wealthy collectors want something, they don't mind dropping millions to get it. That's why rare coins aren't just pocket change, they're serious investments. Now, let me tell you about my own experience searching for valuable pennies. A few years ago, I heard about the rare 1943 copper penny and thought, I'm gonna find one of these babies. So, I grabbed every jar of coins in my house, sat on the floor, and started digging through thousands of pennies. Hours later, nothing. My back was sore, my fingers were dirty, and all I had to show for it was a mountain of useless 1-cent coins. But then, just when I was about to give up, I found something weird, a 1983 penny that looked heavier than usual. Turns out, it was a rare copper transitional error, worth a couple $1,000. Not exactly $1 million find, but hey, it paid for a nice vacation. Keep searching. You never know what treasures are hiding in your spare change. Has a double design and can sell for up to $10,000. The holy grail of pennies, worth over $1 million. All right, coin hunters, now it's your turn. Go check your piggy banks, your car cup holders, and that weird junk drawer in your kitchen. If you find a 1993 D penny that looks off, weigh it, listen to it, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next millionaire. And hey, don't keep this info to yourself. Hit that subscribe button for more money-making coin tips and drop a comment if you've ever found a rare coin. Who knows? Your story might just be featured in the next video. All right, folks, let me ask you a question. What if I told you that a simple, everyday penny, something you probably have in your pocket, your couch cushions, or even that junk drawer in your kitchen, could be worth nearly $2 million? Sounds crazy, right? But guess what? There is a 1995 Lincoln penny out there, without a mint mark, that is worth a jaw-dropping $1.90 million. Now, before you start tearing apart your car seats looking for loose change, let's talk about why this penny is so valuable. how to spot one, and most importantly, whether you could be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. A few years ago, I was at a flea market, hunting for old coins. Just doing my thing, digging through dusty boxes like a modern-day treasure hunter. An older gentleman saw me and said, "Son, you looking for gold or just wasting time?" I laughed and told him, "Gold, but I'll settle for silver." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a handful of pennies, and said, "Here, I'll sell you these for $1." I chuckled, but my gut told me to take a look. I bought them just for fun, and later that night, as I was sorting through them, I realized one was a rare double-die penny worth hundreds of dollars. Moral of the story? Every penny deserves a second glance, and that, my friends, is why you should never underestimate the power of a single cent. Now, let's get into the details of this 1995 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that could make you a millionaire. Most pennies are worth, well, a penny. But every now and then, a minting error or rarity makes one skyrocket in value. The 1995 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is one of those special cases. Typically, pennies minted in Philadelphia don't have a mint mark. However, this particular penny stands out because of its unique errors and rarity. Some versions of this penny also have a double die obverse, which means the lettering and details on Lincoln's face look slightly duplicated. This effect happens when the coin is struck improperly during production. The most valuable versions of this penny are in near-perfect condition, meaning they have never been circulated. If you have a jar of pennies lying around, now's the time to start checking. 1995. Flip over your pennies and check the date. If there's no small letter under the year, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. If the letters appear slightly doubled or shadowed, you may have a double die error. If your penny looks brand new and shiny, you could be in luck. Coins in pristine condition fetch the highest prices. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. What's this bad boy worth? A circulated 1995 no-mint Mark penny is worth, well, about 1 cent. Sorry. A regular uncirculated one might fetch a few bucks. But a high-grade double-die version? We're talking serious money, up to $50,000. And the rarest of them all, the perfect, high-grade error penny, recently sold for a staggering $1.90 million. That's enough to buy a mansion, a sports car, and still have some leftover for, well, more penny hunting. If you think you've hit the jackpot, don't just run to the bank and deposit your treasure. Instead, take it to a coin grading service like PCGS or NGC to get it professionally graded. Check online auction sites like eBay, Heritage Auctions, or Great Collections. Visit a local coin dealer for an appraisal. Attend coin shows where serious collectors are always on the lookout for rare finds. So, there you have it, folks. A single penny, worth nearly $2 million. Makes you think twice about tossing your change in the tip jar. Before you go, I challenge you to do one thing. Grab a handful of pennies and start looking. Who knows? You might just be the next lucky person to find a fortune hiding in plain sight. And hey, if you love learning about valuable coins and want to know how to spot hidden treasures in your pocket change, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I post videos all the time about rare coins, coin collecting strategies, and tips to help you turn your spare change into serious cash. Now, go check your pennies, and if you find one worth millions, don't forget who sent you on this treasure hunt. All right, folks, let me ask you something. What if I told you that a regular OL penny, the kind you find under your couch cushions, could be worth $2 million? That's right. A single 2018 D. Lincoln penny has been valued at a mind-blowing $2 million. So before you toss that change in a jar or, heaven forbid, use it in a vending machine, you might want to check your pockets. Now, I know what you're thinking. Come on, how can a penny be worth more than a luxury sports car? Well, stick with me, because we're diving deep into what makes this coin so special, how you can find one, and how a tiny detail could change your life. Plus, I've got a personal story about a coin find that'll make you rethink every piece of change you've ever handled. All right, let's break this down. The 2018 D. Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, part of the standard production run. On the surface, it looks just like every other penny out there. But here's where things get crazy. Some of these coins have a rare and dramatic error, making them one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered. This particular penny is believed to have a major double die error, meaning the design was struck twice, slightly misaligned, causing doubling on key parts of the coin. That alone makes it a collector's dream. But then you add in the fact that so few of these error pennies have been found, and boom, You've got a multi-million-dollar rarity on your hands. So, how do you know if you're holding one of these golden ticket pennies? Look for the small D under the date. That tells you it came from the Denver Mint. The words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and even the date itself may have a ghost-like second imprint. That's what collectors call a double die. If you've got one that's in pristine condition, meaning no scratches, dings, or wear, it could be worth even more. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth do I spot these tiny details? I don't have superhero vision. Don't worry, my friend. A simple magnifying glass or coin loop will do the trick. And trust me, once you start looking, you'll never look at spare change the same way again. Speaking of looking closely, let me tell you about the time I nearly lost out on a small fortune. A few years ago, I was sorting through some pennies, just your standard, everyday pocket change. I wasn't really paying attention, just tossing them in a jar. But then, one caught my eye. It looked a little off. The letters were slightly blurry, like they had a shadow. Now, at that time, I wasn't as deep into coin collecting as I am now. So, like any normal person, I figured, it's just a weird-looking penny, and tossed it back in the jar. A few months later, I started reading up on error coins and saw a photo of the exact type of doubling I had spotted on that penny. My heart sank. I ran back to my coin jar, digging through like a madman. But, yep, you guessed it, I must have spent it without realizing. It could have been worth thousands, maybe even tens of thousands. Gone. Probably sitting in some vending machine somewhere, paying for a bag of chips. Always check your change. You never know when you're holding something truly valuable. Now, let's talk money. How does a single penny go from being worth 1 cent to a jaw-dropping $2 million? Rare error coins are like fine art to collectors. The rarer they are, the more people are willing to pay. And when big collectors compete for a coin at auction, the price skyrockets. The last time one of these 2018 D-error pennies surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Experts believe that if another one is found in top condition, it could easily sell for another record-breaking amount. There could be more out there, and one of them could be sitting in your pocket right now. First, never underestimate a penny. Second, always check your coins. You never know when you might be holding a fortune. And third, if you ever find one of these rare error pennies, do not spend it on a soda. Now, here's what I want you to do. Go grab your change jar, your wallet, or even that little pile of coins in your car's cup holder. Start looking. And if you find something interesting, let me know in the comments. And hey, if you love learning about hidden treasures in your pocket change, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm always dropping new videos on coins worth money and strategies to help you make the most of your collection. Trust me, you don't want to miss the next big find. All right, folks, imagine this. You're digging through your couch cushions, looking for some spare change to grab a coffee. You pull out a few pennies, maybe a nickel, and hold on, one of those pennies looks a little different. You shrug, toss it in your pocket, and move on with your day. But what if I told you that penny, yes, that plain old brown one, could be worth over $2 million? That's right. There is a 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that recently hit a jaw-dropping $2.1 million at auction. And guess what? It's still out there. Today, we're diving deep into this incredible coin, why it's worth so much, how to identify one, and most importantly, how you can cash in if you're lucky enough to have one hiding in your change jar. Grab your magnifying glass, shake out your piggy bank, and let's go hunting for treasure. The 1972 Lincoln penny. What's the big deal? Now, we've all seen Lincoln pennies before. They've been clinking around in our pockets since 1909, and let's be honest, we don't give them much thought. But the 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is a whole different beast. Most pennies from 1972 were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which typically doesn't put a mint mark on its coins. So at first glance, you might think, big whoop, I've got a ton of these. But hold your horses. This isn't just any ordinary Philly penny. The reason this particular 1972 penny is worth millions is because it has a major double die obverse error. That's a fancy way of saying that during the minting process, the coin's design was accidentally stamped twice, slightly offset. The result? Abe Lincoln, the words Liberty and In God We Trust look like they have a shadow effect. And let me tell you, when collectors see that kind of error, their wallets start sweating. The US Mint usually does a great job of keeping coins looking uniform. But back in 1972, something went wrong. The dies used to strike these pennies got misaligned, and a bold doubling effect appeared. Now, most of the time, these errors are caught and destroyed before they ever leave the mint. But a handful, maybe a few dozen, slip through the cracks. And that, my friends, is how a 1-cent coin ended up being worth more than a brand new Ferrari. All right, so now that I've got you staring at every 1972 penny in your collection, here's what to look for. Strong doubling on the words liberty and in God we trust. The numbers 1972 should look doubled and offset if it has a D, Denver, or S, San Francisco. It's not the $1 million version. The doubling should be bold and clear if it's faint. It might be a lesser-known variety worth less now. Don't get discouraged if your penny isn't worth millions. Even lesser double-die varieties can still sell for hundreds or thousands. Okay, so why would someone pay over $2 million for a penny? Simple: rarity and demand. Coin collectors love unique, hard-to-find pieces, and the 1972 double-die penny is one of the most famous errors out there. It's not just a fluke. It's a well-documented mistake that serious collectors chase after. A pristine, high-grade version of this penny, graded MS 67 or higher, recently sold at auction for $2.1 million. Even lower-grade versions still fetch thousands. So, let me ask you this. Would you rather spend years grinding at work or find a penny that could set you up for life? I know which one I'd pick. My almost $1 million penny now. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, I was at a garage sale, rummaging through a box of old coins. I found a 1972 penny that had some funky-looking letters, and my heart almost stopped. I rushed home, pulled out my magnifying glass, and compared it to known examples online. Could this be the big one? The life changer? The call my boss Anquit penny? Well, it wasn't. Turns out, it was a different variety of the 1972 penny. Not the big money double die, but still worth about $150. Did I retire on that? Nope. But hey, I turned 1 cent into $150, and that's not too shabby. Plus, it kept me hunting. Who knows? Maybe the next one I find will be the $2.1 million jackpot. Check your pennies, especially the 1972 no mint mark Lincoln cents. Look for strong doubling on liberty and in God we trust. Even if it's not the $2.1 million version, it could still be worth serious cash. You never know where treasure is hiding. So keep searching. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an old coin that turned out to be worth way more than face value? Drop a comment below and tell me about it. And hey, if you love learning about coins worth money and want more strategies to turn pocket change into profit, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You never know, your next penny might just make you a millionaire. All right, folks, let me ask you something. Have you ever found a penny in your pocket and thought, just 1 cent, not worth my time? Well, what if I told you that one little penny, just like the one jingling around in your car cup holder, could be worth $2.2 million? Yeah, you heard that right. A single 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been confirmed to be worth a fortune. And before you start tearing up your couch cushions, let me tell you a little story. A few years back, I was at a flea market, digging through a box of random old coins. You know the ones, rusty, grimy, and probably handled by 100 different people over the decades. I pulled out a handful of pennies, gave them a quick look, and tossed them back. The guy next to me? He picks up a penny, squints at it, and starts grinning like he just found the last slice of pizza at a party. I asked him what he found, and he says, "This might be a rare one." I laughed and said, "Yeah, right. It's just a penny." A few months later, that same guy made headlines. Turns out, he found a rare no-mint mark penny from 1968, and it sold for millions. That could have been me. But nope, I had to be Mr. Nah, just a penny. So today, we're diving into how you can spot this insanely valuable coin and why this tiny mistake from the US Mint is now making collectors rich. All right, let's break this down. Normally, Lincoln pennies from 1968 were minted in 3 places: Philadelphia, which usually doesn't have a mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; San Francisco, marked with an S. But here's where things get interesting. In 1968, the San Francisco Mint accidentally produced a small number of pennies without their S mint mark. That means they look just like regular Philadelphia pennies, but they're actually a mistake. And when it comes to coin collecting, mistakes can be worth big bucks. Think of it like a baseball card with a printing error or a misprinted stamp. People love rare, one-of-kind items, and collectors will pay top dollar for them. How to identify a 1968 no-mint mark penny now? Before you go raiding your piggy bank, here's how to tell if you have one of these rare coins. Next, look right under the year. If there's a D or an S, sorry, that's not the jackpot. But if there's no mint mark at all, ding ding ding, you might have a winner. Last but not least, condition matters. A scratched up, beat up penny won't fetch top dollar, but a crisp, shiny one? That's where the big money is. Now, I know what you're thinking, but aren't all Philadelphia pennies missing a mint mark? Yes, they are. But here's the catch. If you find a 1968 no mint mark penny with proof-like qualities, it could be from the San Francisco Mint. And that's the gold mine we're after. All right, let's talk numbers. A regular 1968 penny? 1 cent. Maybe 2 cents if you're lucky. A 1968 no mint mark proof penny? The record sale was over $2.20 million. That's a life-changing amount of money for a coin you could literally find in your spare change jar. Even if yours isn't in mint condition, it could still be worth thousands, depending on its grade. That if you find one of these in great condition, it's like hitting the lottery without even buying a ticket. Where to sell it, and what to do if you find one now. If you do come across one of these rare pennies, don't just toss it on eBay for a few bucks. Get it authenticated. There are professional grading services like PCGS or NGC that can verify if it's legit. Check recent auction results. Heritage auctions, eBay, for serious collectors, and coin shows are great places to research prices that do not clean the coin. Collectors want them in their original state. If you play your cards right, this penny could be worth more than your car, your house, or maybe even your entire retirement fund. You have a 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Maybe it's hiding in your old coin jar, sitting in your grandpa's collection, or waiting to be discovered in a flea market bin like the one I ignored. If I've learned anything, it's this. Never underestimate a penny. Now, before you go hunting through every couch cushion you own, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more coin collecting secrets coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss them. And hey, if you find a rare penny, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Who knows, you might just be the next millionaire. All right, picture this. You're sifting through your spare change, looking for coffee money, and you find a penny that could buy you a mansion, a sports car, and a lifetime supply of nachos. Sounds crazy, right? But hold on to your seats because today we're talking about the 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny that's worth a jaw-dropping $2.30 million. Yep, you heard that right. Not 23 bucks, not 200, $2.3 million. And guess what? One could be hiding in your pocket, your piggy bank, or even under your couch cushions right now. Stick with me because I'm going to tell you exactly why this little copper coin is worth a fortune, what makes it special, and how you can find one yourself. And trust me, you don't want to miss this, because if you toss one of these in a Coinstar machine, you might just cry yourself to sleep. The story behind the 1976 no mint mark penny first. Let's set the stage. It's 1976, America is celebrating its bicentennial. Everyone's rocking bell-bottoms, disco is at its peak, and people are collecting bicentennial quarters like they're golden tickets. But meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint, something weird happens. A small batch of Lincoln pennies is struck without a mint mark. Now, most 1976 pennies should have a little D for Denver or S for San Francisco underneath the date. But these? Nothing. Nada. Zilch. And here's where it gets interesting. These missing mint mark pennies weren't an accident. They were part of an experimental batch that somehow made it into circulation. Fast forward a few decades, and collectors started realizing just how rare these things were. Then, boom, one sells at auction for $2.3 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. Come on, it's just a penny. What makes it so special? Well, my friend, welcome to the wild world of coin collecting, where tiny details can mean big money. We're talking about a handful of these coins in existence. The rarer a coin is, the higher the value. Simple math. 1976 was a big deal for the U.S. It was the country's 200th birthday, and this coin is part of that history. Collectors love that kind of thing. The million-dollar penny that sold was in pristine, uncirculated condition. If yours looks like it was run over by a lawnmower, it might not fetch quite as much. Okay, so how do you check if you have one of these golden ticket pennies? Grab your pennies. Go through that jar, your old change, and even that weird stash in your car's cup holder. Check under the date. If you see a D or an S, sorry, no jackpot for you. But if there's no mint mark, you might just have a winner. Examine the details. Sharp lettering, clean strike, no excessive wear. These things boost value. Get it authenticated. If you think you found one, take it to a professional coin grader or an auction house. A genuine 1976 no mint mark penny needs expert verification. Now, let me tell you about the time I almost had a life-changing coin moment. A few years back, I was helping my grandpa clean out his garage. He had jars filled with old pennies, some dating back to the 1940s. I start flipping through them, and suddenly, bam, a 1976 penny with no mint mark. My heart started racing. Could this be the one? I rushed inside, grabbed my magnifying glass like some kind of coin detective, and examined it from every angle. No mint mark, perfect shape. I was already picking out my dream car in my head. I took it to a coin expert. He takes one look, gives me this little smirk, and says, "Nice find, but it's just a regular Philly minted penny." Turns out, Philadelphia mint coins never had mint marks back then. I felt like I had just scratched off a lottery ticket and almost won, but didn't. Always verify before celebrating. But hey, at least now I know what to look for. And so do you. All right, folks, let's recap. The 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $2.3 million because it's rare, historic, and in high demand among collectors. If you want to find one, check your spare change, focus on that missing mint mark, and make sure it's in top condition. Get it authenticated. Because who knows, you might be sitting on a coin worth more than your house. Now, if you enjoyed this and want more tips on spotting rare and valuable coins, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more coin hunting secrets that could put some serious cash in your pocket. And hey, before you go, check your wallet. You never know what treasures you might be carrying. All right, folks, let me ask you a question. Have you ever dropped a penny and thought, not worth bending over for? Well, what if I told you that one little copper-colored penny from 1985 could be worth a whopping $2.4 million? Yeah, that's right. One single cent, more valuable than a mansion, a Ferrari, and probably your entire retirement fund combined. Now, before you start shaking out your couch cushions and raiding your piggy bank, let me tell you the full story. Today, we're talking about the 1985 D. Lincoln penny, a coin that's turning everyday people into millionaires, if they're lucky enough to find one. I actually had a close call with this one. A few years back, I was going through some pocket change, completely clueless, tossing pennies into a jar like they were worthless. Little did I know, one of those pennies could have been the jackpot. But did I check? Nope. Instead, I used it at a vending machine for a bag of chips that, frankly, wasn't even that good. So let's make sure you don't make the same mistake I did. So, what makes the 1985 D penny so special? After all, there are billions of pennies out there, right? Well, let's break it down. The D on the penny means it was minted in Denver. In 1985, the Denver Mint produced over 5 billion pennies. But here's the kicker, not all of them were created equal. The one we're talking about is a rare error coin, and error coins are like the golden ticket of the coin world. Some have minor flaws, while others have mistakes so big that collectors are willing to pay crazy money to own them. This particular 1985 D penny is so valuable because it was accidentally struck on a solid copper planchet instead of the standard zinc-coated one. See, by 1982, the U.S. Mint had switched from solid copper pennies to copper-plated zinc to cut costs. But somehow, a few old copper planchets were still floating around in 1985, and one of them ended up in the Denver Mint's presses. An old school, all-copper penny was born in a time when it wasn't supposed to exist. Now, here's the crazy part. Since this error is so rare, only one confirmed example has been found so far. That's why it's worth so much. In fact, in a recent auction, one lucky collector cashed in for $2.4 million just for spotting this tiny mistake. Talk about finding treasure in your spare change. All right, so how do you know if you have one of these rare beauties? Simple checks can make you rich. Check the date and mint mark. Look for 1985 with a small D underneath Lincoln's portrait. No D? Sorry, not the one. Regular 1985 D pennies weigh 2.5 grams because they're mostly zinc. But the rare copper error coin weighs 3.1 grams. That extra weight is your golden ticket. A regular penny with zinc has a slightly different reaction to a magnet than a solid copper one. It's a quick way to test if you're onto something special. If you've got a 1985 D penny that feels heavier, take it to a professional coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it and tell you if you're about to become a millionaire. Now, let me tell you about my buddy Joe. Joe's not a coin collector. He's the type of guy who finds a penny on the ground, flips it over, and if it's tails, he just kicks it aside. But one day, after hearing about rare pennies from me, he started paying more attention. He called me up all excited because he found a 1985 D penny that felt different. He even did the weight test on his kitchen scale. 3.1 grams. He thought he hit the jackpot. But when he took it to a coin shop, turns out it was just a dirty old penny that had been misread by the scale. Poor Joe. He went from millionaire dreams to pocket change in 30 minutes. But hey, at least he's checking now, right? Check your pennies. That little coin in your pocket could be worth millions, or it could just be worth 1 cent. Either way, you'll never know unless you take the time to look. If you want to keep up with the hottest rare coin finds, investment strategies, and ways to make real money from your pocket change, hit that subscribe button. I'll be bringing you more insider tips, crazy coin stories, and the latest market values, so you never miss out on another $2.4 million penny ever again. Now, go check your coins and let me know in the comments what you find. All right, folks, let me ask you something. Have you ever gone through your spare change and thought, man, what if one of these pennies is worth a fortune? Well, let me tell you, that thought might not be as crazy as it sounds. Today, we're diving into the 1986 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a tiny little coin that could be worth a life-changing $2.5 million. Yes, you heard me right. A single penny, the kind you probably ignore when you see it on the ground, could be more valuable than your house, your car, and maybe even your entire retirement plan. I'll walk you through how this penny came to be, why it's worth so much, and how to check if you've got one. And, as always, I'll share a personal story about a time I almost let a valuable coin slip through my fingers. Trust me, you don't want to make the same mistake I did. So, grab your coin jar, a magnifying glass, and maybe a cup of coffee, because this is one penny hunt you won't want to miss. All right, let's start with the basics. Most pennies have a little letter under the date. A D means it was made in Denver, an S means San Francisco, and if there's no letter, it usually means Philadelphia. But here's where things get interesting. In 1986, there was a rare mistake. Some pennies were struck without any mint mark at all, and they weren't from Philadelphia. These were supposed to have a D or S, but somehow ended up with nothing at all. Why? That's the million-dollar, scratch that, $2.5 million question. Some believe it was a minting error, while others suspect it was a test strike that accidentally made it into circulation. Either way, it turned an ordinary penny into a jackpot for collectors. Now, before you start flipping over every penny you own, I've got to tell you, these are incredibly rare. So rare, in fact, that only one confirmed example has been found so far. That's right, just one. Think about it. Out of billions of pennies made in 1986, only one is known to exist without a mint mark. That means your chances of finding one are about the same as winning the lottery while being struck by lightning on the same day. But hey, someone has to win, right? This legendary penny was found by a collector who, unlike most people, actually took the time to check his spare change. He spotted something strange, no mint mark. Instead of tossing it back into circulation, he got it authenticated, and boom, $2.5 million richer. Can you imagine? You're digging in your car for some quarters to feed a parking meter, and instead, you find a penny that could buy you a mansion. That's the dream, my friends. The one that got away. Now, let me tell you about a time I almost had my own million-dollar coin moment, but blew it. Years ago, I was at a flea market, sifting through a bucket of old coins. There was this dusty old man selling them for pennies, literally pennies. I spotted a Lincoln cent that looked odd. No mint mark. My heart started racing. Was this it? The big one? The holy grail of pennies. But then, I hesitated. Instead of grabbing it, I figured, I'll come back later. Big mistake. When I finally worked up the courage to go back, the coin was gone. Sold. Probably for a couple of cents. To this day, I still wonder, was that the one? The $2.5 million penny? We'll never know. But I can tell you one thing. I never hesitate when I see an odd-looking coin anymore. So, how can you tell if you've got the 1986 no mint mark Lincoln penny? Check the date. Make sure it's 1986. No other year matters for this specific coin. Look for the mint mark. If there's no D or S under the date, you might have something special. Get it authenticated. If you think you found one, don't just throw it on eBay for $50. Take it to a professional coin grader. A few bucks spent on authentication could mean the difference between finding treasure and getting scammed. Right now, the only known 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny sold for $2.5 million to a high-end collector. That means if you find another one, you could be looking at an even higher price. Coins like this tend to go up in value because collectors go crazy for unique, one-of-a-kind finds. So if you ever come across a 1986 penny with no mint mark, do not, I repeat, do not spend it on a vending machine snack. That could be the most expensive bag of chips you'll ever buy. All right, folks, that's the story of the 1986 no mint Mark Lincoln penny. Who would have thought a tiny copper coin could be worth millions? Always check your change. That little habit could turn you into a millionaire. And if you're like me and you've ever let a rare coin slip through your fingers, well, let's just say we learn from our mistakes. Now, if you found this video helpful, or at least entertaining, hit that subscribe button for more coin collecting tips, tricks, and jaw-dropping stories about rare coins worth serious money. And if you're already digging through your penny jar, let me know in the comments, what's the most interesting coin you've ever found?